Hey, what's up, guys? I want to show you how to change your snare head if you've never done it before, or if you have and you want to pick up a few pointers. This video is mainly aimed at beginners. If you've changed a lot of snare heads before, you probably didn't even click on it, so I'm probably not talking to you right now. All right, so let's get started. The things you're going to need: a drum key. If you have two of them, even better. A rag, a drumstick, and of course a new drum head. In this case, I'm going with the Evans HD Dry. It's a 2-ply coated head, 5 mil on top, 7.5 mil on bottom. I didn't know this, I'm just reading it right off the box. I've used these before and I like them. There's a lot of great drum heads out there by some different companies, and they're all good. So don't get caught in analysis paralysis. Pick a popular drum head if you're not sure what to get, and just get started with that. Over the years, you'll learn which ones you like more and less, but they're all gonna sound good if you tune them and play them well. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is take off the old drum head. All right, now to do this work, I'm just going to pull the snare away from the kit a little bit and give us some space to move without dinging up our other drums. I suppose I should let you hear what the drum sounds like before I'm changing it. By the way, the reason I'm changing this head, you can see it's not broken yet. But sometimes I wait for the head to break before I change it. But this one's just gotten so used and worn and beat up and stretched. I keep tightening it every time it starts to slip. And so it's higher than I typically like to tune it. It doesn't sound great. Enough's enough. It's time for me to change it. You'll know when you need to change your head if it's heavily worn away in the middle and no longer sounds good no matter how you try to tune it. And I suspect that after I remove this head, it'll be apparent how stretched and worn it is in the middle. But before I do that, I want to let you hear how it sounds. Not terrible, but I want to be able to tune it deeper, and this head's just too far stretched for that. So I'm going to take off the moon gels. I'll wash those before I put them back on. We're going to start to remove the head. Now it's important whether you're putting the head on or taking it off, as you work evenly in small rotations. What you don't want to do is just start on one side of the head and heavily loosen the screws without doing it to the other side, because then the rim is going to bend up unevenly. So I'm going pretty quick here because I got two keys, and I'm working on opposing sides of the drum, so it's all very even. I'll go ahead and skip to the next part. All right. All the tension rods are loosened. Now we're going to take off the rim. It's a good point to go ahead and clean it. That's why I keep the rag nearby. There's going to be a lot of drumstick shavings, fingerprints, etc. And they will break down the chrome over time. All right, now you can remove the old drum head. Sure enough, this one is pretty stretched out in the middle. So that's why I wasn't able to tune it up well and get it to sound really good. It's too stretched. All right, this is the most fun part of changing a drum head, is throwing the old one like a Frisbee. This is your opportunity to clean out the drum, get all those wood shavings out. Fingerprints off the hardware. I changed my bottom head recently, and unless yours is broken, you probably don't need to. But I try to change out my bottom head at least every few years. And I did mine just a few months ago, so that one's good to go. And get the fingerprints off of there. All right. So now we got a good starting point. And by the way, if you're new to changing drum heads, you might also be new to tuning drums. So I will take this opportunity to quickly see where the bottom head is in terms of pitch and tension. It's actually a bit low. I'm always experimenting with drum sound, and I used to tune my bottom head a bit low. Lately, I've been tuning it up a bit more, and I've noticed a lot of others have too. It's kind of a trend right now. There are trends in drumming just as there are trends in everything. But I've noticed a lot of the drummers, when I say to myself, dang, they got a good snare sound, When I looked further into it, they explained that they were tuning the bottom head pretty tight. So I started doing that, and I like it so far. So I'm going to go ahead and tune this bottom head up a bit. Use your ear. You don't want to go insanely tight with it. I want to get a nice crispy sound from the bottom head first. You can see how I use the drumstick to hold the snares up off the drum so it's resting on the rim and nothing's touching the drum head. All right, that's a good enough starting point for now. So we're going to flip the drum back over and go ahead and put the new head on. Make sure the drum's facing the way it will be. So that way you can center the logo. Grab your rim. Make sure you've got all the tension rods still. And the first step is simply to get it centered on the drum, both the hoop and the drum head. You've heard me call this a rim and a hoop. Both are perfectly acceptable. Right now, I'm going to put all the tension rods back in just until they touch. I'm not going to put any tension on the drum just yet. I want to get them all what I used to call finger tight, but it's not actually tight. It's just to where they touch. Okay, so they're all just touching. There's no tension. And I'm going to take this final opportunity to make sure the head is centered and set. I'll go around and make sure they're all just still touching. Perfect. Now I can actually apply a little bit of tension using only my fingers. Again, this is to help make sure everything's settled in the middle. Just a little bit of tension to make sure everything's sitting right. All right, now is where we can actually begin using the key. If I play the drum, you'll hear how there's just about zero tension on the head. Actually sounds kind of cool. Yeah, that could totally be a viable drum sound for a particular kind of song, I suppose. That's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and turn the snares off and start tuning this thing up. Now, I kind of want a medium-high pitch for this one. If you're not sure, if this is your first time changing the drum head and tuning up your snare and you're not sure how tight you want it, go for a medium. A drum that'll work well on any kind of song. Now, you can see here I'm using the star pattern, as they call it. Basically, all I'm doing is tightening up a little bit on here, go to the opposite side of the drum, then move over, a little bit there, go to the opposite side of the drum, move over a little bit. I'm just doing a quarter turn to a half a turn at a time. And I'm feeling to make sure that these lugs are even as they go. Now, you don't necessarily have to work in the star pattern. You can go in a circle around the drum like this, but you just want to kind of be aware that you're applying even tension all the way around as you go. Otherwise, again, you could bend the rim, bend the head, stretch it unevenly. It makes it harder to tune. There's kind of a low tuning. Let's see how it sounds if we stop here for a second. It's very low, very ringy. This might sound good if you have additional damping on the drum. Like I got one of these big fat snare drums here. Pretty cool. And it helps to focus the sound of low-pitched snares. So that could work if that's the sound you're going for. But again, I want a kind of a medium tight, so I'm going to continue going up. Now I'm doing this with 2 keys very quickly because I've changed a million drum heads before. And I kind of know how it's going to feel and how it's going to sound based on how it feels. this is your first time doing it, you probably want to go a bit slower, maybe work with one key at a time, and actually tap the drum as you go around so you can hear the changes you're making. We're already getting pretty high up there in the pitch range. So I'm going to pause and hear how it sounds. Keep in mind the tension that you put on the snares using the snare tension adjustment knob here, which is always located next to the throw off. The tension that you put on the snares will change as you change the pitch of the heads. For instance, when you go real low with the heads, they're going to move a bit further, and you might want those snares to be a bit looser so they move with it. But we'll touch on how to adjust the tension of the snare tensioner right at the end, once I get everything else sounding really good. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. Now, you might have noticed when I had the top head off that you could see a little bit of foam that I had self-adhesived to the inside of the drum that's touching the head. So I don't need a ton of moon gels to make this thing sound nice and focused. All right. Now, in general, when I tune my snares, I don't like it to sound very ringy, so I do like some type of muffling, which is why I put that foam on there on the inside. So I don't even have to touch it. There's already some on there. But I erred on the side of not enough damping because I didn't want to overdo it. And if I do want a slightly more ringy snare, then I don't have to put anything on top, and it's already there. Most of the time, though, I'll put a moon gel or two on top just to damp it a bit further. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go wash these moon gels off real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, a little bit of soap and warm water, and these things are good as new. Now, I actually cut one moon gel in half, and I'm placing it right here because, well, I'm always trying different stuff. And I think this happens to sound good. It's the right distance away from the rim. It's not too close to the middle where it's going to damp it too much. And it's not too heavy. So a little bit of damping. But guys, you got to experiment with this stuff. Do what sounds good to your ears. You probably want to place the moon gels where they're not going to interfere with your playing at all. Like if I do a cross stick, I don't want to put it there, obviously. And if I play back towards the rim, don't want it there. So these are out of the way, and I feel it's the appropriate amount of damping for this drum for what I use it for. But you guys got to do this your own way. Use your ear. What sounds good to you, okay? Everyone's going to have their own way of tuning their drum, so figure out what works for you. Now, I think that sounds pretty good, but that's going to continue to stretch. Even as I lean into it just now, it's still settling in. So you're probably going to want to check the tuning of the drum over the next day or so and make little adjustments as it settles in. And guys, if you stay on top of the tuning, if you tweak it every time you sit down to play, it doesn't take very long. If you don't touch it for months, it'll take a while to get that thing sounding good again. So I find that the heads last the longest and sound the best with the least maintenance if you tweak it often. Also, myself, I know I hit a lot of rim shots off the left hand, and this lug tends to loosen before the rest. So usually that's where I go to first. And you can feel it. So you want to practice this, guys. It takes time to learn how you like to tune drums and to get better at it and more consistent. The more you do it, the more your ear and your hand, as you feel the tension, your ear will know what to expect. They will work together. So you're going to use a combination of feel and sound to get your drum tuned the quickest once you practice it a lot. But early on, use your ear the whole way because you don't necessarily know what sounds good just yet. All right, guys, hope this was helpful. Let me know what drum heads you're choosing for your drum. And if you have any other specific comments, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.